The second of the three elements to all success is how you use your mind. Thinking, strategy, decisions, choices. But the key in business to how you use your mind is having set goals, but even more important than setting goals is how you measure your results and your progress towards those goals. So in real estate, we use this thing called success charts, which ensures that you increase your numbers. So how you use your mind is really focusing on what you think, how you make choices, and how you make decisions. Now, this state, it encompasses all the aspects of every single skill, habit, and tool in your success in real estate. Any of you listening to this, or any of you on YouTube, anywhere in the world watching this, if you see some skill in real estate that's not here, I'd certainly like to know about it. You can reach me at richlevin.com, R-I-C-H-S, to incorporate every skill over my 30 years in business and in real estate to focus on this. Now I'm going to make a bunch of these disappear because right now we're talking about what you do with your mind. So we're going to eliminate all of the body skills, all of the skills, tools, and systems, and the measure, and the motive. Everything is supported. How this is the center, the core to your business. And having goals is measuring your results toward those goals. Now there's a key measure, inner focus on that here. The key measure is your initial presentations each week. Here's an example here to show you what I mean by that key measure. If your goal were to do $3 million, that would take $150,000 into $3 million, 20 sales. Now what I found after working with thousands and thousands and thousands of real estate agents across the Netherlands and in Australia and a number of other places around the country, Bahamas, that most agents working with effectively, strongly begin working with. I call the beginning of work with a client an initial presentation. Your listing presentation when you first talk to the seller about selling and go over your marketing plan, or your buyer presentation when you first sit down with the buyer and really go over the whole process and talk to the buyer about what they want to buy, how they want to buy, and so on. And what I found is that an average agent, not an exceptional agent, an average agent, will make a sale for every 2 initial presentations that they make. So if that's accurate for you, and it will be for nearly all agents, if you want to do $3 million in sales, that's 20 sales over the course using 40 initial presentations for 40 weeks in the year. That's 40 initial presentations. It's only 1 initial presentation a week. Pretty modest number. And then I say stop there. Don't look at how many calls you have to make, how many open houses you have to make. The key measure is how many of those initial is Janet. I was just speaking with Janet today, and she said, Rich, it took me a little while to get into that steady flow of a presentation a week, but all of a sudden my business is flowing. You'll understand more about that in a moment. So if you, in your business, your next level is 10 sales for the year, it only takes a half a presentation a week, 20 sales, 1 presentation a week. If your next level is 40 sales, only 2 initial presentations a week, failing on half of them. And when you focus on how few calls you need to make, when you focus on the minimum it takes in order to achieve your goals, all of a sudden it frees you up to be much more creative, to take those times business. So yeah, I'm saying instead of focusing on how many hours you need to prospect, how many calls you need to make, let's focus on how many initial presentations it takes and how little work it takes to get there. And then, with all the rest of the time, once you know you've hit your minimum, you can decide to do more, enjoy your life more, or work on some other priority of your business. And you'll find it brings a great deal more passion and a great deal more positive emotion to your business. It also causes you to ask better questions. The questions you ask, you start asking, where can those presentations come from? You know, how do I get those presentations doing more of the work I like and less of the work that I don't like? And it all comes down to looking at not only having those goals and breaking them down into how many presentations, but also being able to measure against that on a regular basis. So let me show you how we do that. I'm going to flip off of this, and I'm going to pop out over to the internet. And this is the set of charts that coaching clients have access to in our coaching program. And first we set goals. And when we set goals, this is going to apparently take a moment to open up. When we set goals in the coaching program, we take your goals, we look at your history of your sales, we take that history of sales and we break it down into actually 3 levels of goals. We break that down into an exceptional goal that would be tremendous to hit based on your previous successes. We use a tiptoe goal, which is sort of a modest, satisfactory goal, and a disappointment goal. And you'll see that pop up on your screen in just a second. We use your average price range, and we use your own success rate. We have a conversation or you listen to a webinar about how to set these goals, and you set a success rate for yourself. So that this particular example, you know, this agent who's never even done $2 million in their business said a goal would be amazing to do $4 million. Be great to do 2.5. They'd love to do that. Based on their commission rate, this is the income that they would earn from that. And based on their average price range, this is the number of sales they would need to hit that. Okay, based on their success rate, this would be the appointments they need. And each week, look, this agent only needs one appointment a week to do more business than they've ever done before. But just over one appointment a week, 1.25, one appointment a week, and an extra one every 4 weeks would take this agent's business to numbers they never imagined. And agents are shocked, surprised, pleased with how few appointments a week, initial presentations per week, are required in order to achieve their goals. Well, on these charts, not only do we set the goals that way, but we also record them. So every time you have a new appointment, you would go back to the navigation panel here. Let's hope that pops up a little more quickly than the previous screen did. Each time you set a new appointment, you go to the navigation panel, and you can see in blue here, you add that new appointment. There's a screen here to add appointments to your business. So you add that appointment, and once you've added the appointment for the week, it pops up on a list, so you can always go back to this list and say, okay, have I added all my latest new appointments? You know, this week, have I added the appointment that I need to reach my next level? So this is where you can look at those appointments, and then you can adjust those appointments. We call them yeses, nos, or maybes. When you first meet with a person, you decide if they're yes, you're going to do business with them, maybe you're not sure, or no, in fact, that person is not going to do business with you. That's where that 50% success rate comes in. And I don't want to get lost too much on this, except to say to you that after you've actually looked at your appointments and you can see if your latest appointments are there, those then automatically get posted on a graph so that you can see how you're doing for the year. Now, this set of charts not only tracks your appointments, so you can see whether your weekly activity is taken where you want to go, but it also focuses you on, there's also a part of the charts that focus you on your sales and whether you've had the sales that you want for the month and for the year, and on your listings and whether you've hit your listing goal for the month and for the year, so that you know where your business stands in relation to all of the 3 major aspects of your business. For instance, let me just pop to one other place here. I'll show you 2 other places while we're on this topic of measured results. What we just focused on, of course, was appointments and whether you're having the appointments you need to reach your goals. Now I want to go to the navigation panel and go to what I call sale price dollar volume, which is where you stand in relationship to your goals for the year. And when that pops up, you'll see you set a monthly goal, and from that monthly goal, you can see how you're doing in relationship to that goal and how you're doing in relationship to previous year's production, and you can also see how you're doing year-to-date in relationship to your goals and previous year's production. So you can see that this agent is doing quite well so far for the year. And if you scroll to the very bottom of this page, you'll see what your average price range is managing along. So simply by entering your sales and entering your listings and entering your appointments, you get a tremendous amount of feedback about what's going on in your business.